word compromise means? Do you know what the word compromise means? Do you know what words or phrases you would use to make up the meaning of the word compromise? And I would like you to get a sense of that the word compromise carries with it some failure. But hopefully when you use the word compromise, you're hoping that you didn't fail more than the person or the organization that you're compromising with. Compromise is a very, very scary situation because it means a laxing of principle or a mutual adjustment. It means that where there was a firm position, strength, and conviction or character, that you have adjusted it. You have given concessions. You have chosen to leave your course and to choose a middle course because someone or something or some pressure has brought you to that change. Compromise also has a second meaning other than a mutual adjustment, concession, or middle course. It also means to be in disgrace. It also means to be exposed to the risk of scandal. You look the word up, compromise. You say she compromised her behavior. She's now exposed herself to a risk of scandal. Or a security system is compromised. It is in disgrace. It no longer has its position, its firm footing, its conviction. It has now had to move and take another road. I want to talk about a compromise that has taken place in public education starting in a couple of months. In a couple of months in this country, there will be a new channel on satellite television. And everybody who's a dish owner is going to look up into the sky, and you're going to see that light in the sky and that free flow of information. You're going to say, what a wonderful channel. Don't judge a book by its cover. All that glitters is not gold. That channel will have been put up there by Christopher Whittle. Christopher Whittle is not a Whittle man. He's a rich man. Christopher Whittle owns Whittle Communications, Los Angeles. Christopher Whittle is a publisher. He's the same publisher that a couple years ago published a book to put in the office of doctors, in the waiting lobby. That was a very good book. It was called The Reports, and it was good. It had good information in it. And all the doctors said, yeah, you can put it in my office, but he made a condition. He said to all the doctors, you won't get the book unless you don't have any other subscriptions there, no more than 2. Because I want a captive audience where I take my material. Well, Christopher Whittle has convinced network advertisers that he can deliver to them a captive audience, a group of people who will be consolidated down in one place and will be forced to watch their advertising. Now, in the advertising business, that's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. And to see another satellite channel go up, that's great. But don't judge the book by its cover. Now, too, if you're an advertising agency and you represent Procter & Gamble or Converse shoes, you might want to get to a certain type of audience. And if Christopher Whittle comes to you, he's going to tell you, if you advertise on my new channel, I'll give you more bang for the buck. As a matter of fact, I can give you the equivalent of a 35-point rating. The equivalent of a network TV 35-point rating. And I can drop your cost on a network from $50 to $60 per thousand. We can cut it down to $25 and $30 per thousand viewers. But we can do even more. We can guarantee you they're going to watch your commercial. Not only that, we can guarantee you that these won't be hardline, well-educated, opinionated viewers. These will be open, fresh minds, subject to easily being bent. And not only will we have that working for us, but we will represent the approvement, the tacit approving authority of every citizen in the United States of America and the country itself. What more could anyone ask in a business venture? A guaranteed captive audience. But not opinionated people, impressionable people who will do what you tell them. And you will be able to carry the weight and the credential of the United States government. More bang for the buck? Sound like a dream as a business plan? Well, it's a dream come true because it's all going to happen. On March the 6th, you will see a test. It will be up on satellite. It will be called Channel 1. Channel 1, the primary channel. This test will go into 5 public schools where Christopher Whittle will have donated $50,000 of hardware, including a satellite system, 30 to 40 monitors, closed-circuit cameras, whatever it takes to get in. And behind him will come the weight of investment of Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, Converse, and the U.S. Army. Because they will be the first 4 advertisers that will be run in public school systems bringing educational material. A compromise has taken place, hasn't it? The idea that we as parents and citizens who mandate by law that every one of our children not only is entitled to a public education, but is compelled by law to go and attend, will be forced to sit down and watch advertising that is deliberately, psychologically tailored to engulf their minds and brainwash them on purchasing products. And the teacher, that second most impressionable adult leader on those children, will say, watch the television. Don't talk. Get brainwashed. Let them sell you the product. It's okay. Your mother, your father, your senator, your congressman, the principal, and I have approved of it. A compromise is about to take place. I see it as a dastardly, deadly, sickening corporate compromise with the public school system. And I would hope that every one of you would do anything in your power legally to stop this compromise of our children to corporate America. Is there no safe harbor left? When they do it on AFRTS, we see the danger, we understand the danger, and we object. Well, on February the 6th, March the 6th, they're going to do it to your children. And they're predicting that it's going to be very, very successful. He's going to get to 60 million children next year. 60 million children next year. He is going to go out and he's going to get paid by advertisers to allow them to open up those children's minds and go right in, walk right through. That's going to happen in this country. See, it's a different kind of force majeure, a manipulated process of force. It's a different kind. In a communist country, the commercial would simply be for the state and the government. Here it's going to be for Procter & Gamble. It's going to be for Converse tennis shoes. It's going to be U.S. Army recruitment ads. It's going to be for McDonald's hamburgers. How many of you have a sense of outrage and understanding about what this means to the future, of what the future will look like when Whittle Communications and these four first advertisers are done entrenching every school in the United States and have a mandate that reaches every child for the 8 formidable years that they will spend under the direct direction and approval of that teacher. How many of you understand what a wonderful opportunity this is for a private company? What a wonderful marketplace they will develop 8 years from now when those children enter the marketplace. Schools in this country have done a lot of dastardly things. I have disagreed with them. I have worked against the public educational system as it's run right now. Never have I seen such a compromise of the integrity of public education. Never. I would rather that they invite a communist to come in and talk to my kid and then invite a Democrat or a Republican to come in and talk to my kid. At least they get to see both sides. Than to have Procter & Gamble spend their day with my kid for the next 8 years. And that's what we're setting up. How many of you knew this was going on? I only found out about this today. How many of you knew? Give me a call, 408-848-5570. How many of you have heard about this or knew about this? Maybe just didn't stop and think about it too much. Any of you? Anybody out there? How many of you feel that this is okay? There's one. How many of you feel this is okay? That it's really okay to run commercials in the public school system by choice? How many of you feel it's okay? As long as they donate enough equipment or bribe the school superintendents, it's okay. They get to be the ones in. Let me ask you something. Who is it that gets to compete with McDonald's? Who is it that gets to make tennis shoes and compete with Converse 8 years from now? And Procter & Gamble? Well, they almost own it all now in their department. I want you to know something. You can rest assured in your bed tonight. Because they have an advisory panel for Whittle Communications. And this advisory panel of education experts help Mr. Whittle decide which categories of advertisers not to accept. So you have had some safeguards. You can feel sure and rest comfortably tonight that Mr. Whittle and his advisors have decided not to accept advertisers of alcohol beverages, cigarettes, feminine hygiene products, or condoms. Mr. Whittle will decide the social values and morals for the public school system, who up to now has ended up in court every time they've tried to teach a social value or public moral. Mr. Whittle will not have that problem. He's made his decision. What happens when he decides that health food shouldn't be there? That Procter & Gamble doesn't need that kind of competition? How many of you have a feeling about this, a strong feeling about this? Am I way off base on this? I see this as, personally, for me, Chuck Dawson, I'm going to handle this the way I handle KSAT in my life. I'm starting today to work against this thing. I'm starting today to seek redress of the 5 school systems that are allowing this to take place. I don't want to see it in school system number 6. I don't want him to have 60 million kids under his control. I don't want this to happen at all. I see it as a clear and present danger. And it's already developed and financed, and it's going to happen, starting on March the 6th. Let me tell you what schools it's going to happen to. Kansas City Public School System Superintendent. He's put up a couple schools. He said, we think it could serve as a teacher's tool, such as in social studies. Welcome to new social studies. Kansas City Public School System. Not many of you have some strong feelings about this, huh? Mumford High School in Detroit. Eisenhower Middle School in Kansas. You're going to get it. In Los Angeles, there's a system. Well, don't worry. They're only going to have 4 ads every 12 minutes long. Every 12 minutes. Only 4 ads every 12 minutes for your kid. But think of the tool. Think of the social study benefit to see those 4 ads every 12 minutes. Well, don't worry. It won't be a full 2-minute ad. It'll be a 30-second ad. Just a quick hit. You don't need a lot of time when you got a captive audience and you can run it every 12 minutes. Now, does this sound like a story I made up? Now, I want to ask you a question. How many of you think I made this up? How many think that I'm really getting to another point about compromise? Give me a call if you think I made this up, that I really got another point, that this couldn't happen. There's no way this is going to come true. There's no way this is really going on. Whittle's a name I made up. 408-848-5570. How many of you know that our system has more checks and balances than to allow this to go that far? Well, I've got the real misanthropes out there, because you know I didn't make it up. This is a fact. This is reality. This is going to happen. Time Life, TCI will love this channel. They will love this channel. This is right down their line. This is what it's all about. And it's going to happen. March the 6th. For reference to this, there have been several articles on it, and they all came in-house at the same time. January 23rd, Electronic Media, page 208 in their NAPTY Show edition, has a half-a-page article on it. I see it as a compromise of education. I see it as a compromise of integrity, of the neutralism that the public school system should be endowed with. And I guarantee you, if Bentley Dawson walks into a school where they're going to show her 4 commercials every 12 minutes, she will be taught at home by her mother or father, a certified teacher. And I will come to this airways and I will tell every one of you how to get certified. It ain't as hard as you think. If you have a comment, 408-848-5570. That's the line you comment on.
Why do I subscribe to OnSat? Here's a few reasons. Daily listings on over 112 satellite channels.
It occurs to me that we live in a representative form of democracy. And this democracy is held unto us as a very precious heritage that we all are the benefactors of by simply existing within it, simply being born in it or taking an allegiance to it. We then partake of it. And it's almost a magical quality that the Constitution and this democracy has brought forth. In the first 100 years of our country, we saw an absolute revolution in the evolution of freedom. And we saw it right here in the United States of America. As a result of that Declaration of Independence, as a result of that Constitution, there was a virtual revolution that took place by a group of people in 13 colonies. And out of that revolution sprung forth an evolution of people trying to get along with each other. People from very diverse backgrounds, with foreign languages from each other, all seeking refuge in this continent and finding themselves victorious in throwing off the cloak of oppression. That first 100 years was really magical, because what happened in that first 100 years is a whole body of law was formalized and written down. Previous to that, like in Great Britain, the law is common law. It is not necessarily written, documented, to be pointed out as ownership. Not that the system is bad. The system just evolved in this country to where you, the common citizen, could point to a body of law which on one hand would protect you and on the other hand would punish you should you disobey it. And that consistency led to a freedom, because in knowing the law, we knew the rules under which we had to play in order to succeed. And for that first 100 years in this country, it was almost magical. It was an absolute, if you were a historian sitting on Halley's Comet, and you came back and visited as America's birth progressed 100 years, you would be astonished at the changes and the betterment for mankind and the future generations would hold in store. In the last 100 years, we've seen this democracy and this land that we love evolve into a new type of dictator. That dictator is not some charismatic cult figure who's managed to mesmerize the leaders in this country. The dictator is not a foreign national subversively eroding our value systems and our judgments and eventually our political power. That dictator has evolved out of the business system of this country to be the big corporation. It's virtually impossible in this country at this point to receive justice from the big corporation, because the big corporation can simply buy its easy out. You cannot Sue the big corporation because you don't possibly have enough money to endure the litigious terrorism that you are put through when you exercise that right of redress. There used to be a feeling inside the country that you couldn't fight City Hall, that it was bigger than you and above you, yet we had fought it for 100 years or more. I'm here to tell you we're fast approaching the point when you can't fight the big corporation. The big corporation is above the law. It makes the law. It has the power of the ticket to the political door, which is the key to undoing the protections that are in our system, defending the people, and redoing it to defend the corporation. Big business has come to a point in this country where it is the social economical philosophy that we operate by. It's almost unpatriotic not to see McDonald's as a benevolent dictator. We look at Disney Channel and thinking somehow that Walt Disney's sitting down there somewhere looking after us all and trying to make our children laugh. We actually believe that number two is trying harder than number one. So many of us are confused by the ability of the large corporation to buy the public airways and inundate our minds with ideas instead of substance in the form of their products. So few of the large corporations right now render any serviceable product. What they render is a concept. They're selling you a concept because they have an access to your home. And what they want to do is get the product in your home. So what they do is use this access into every American home to sell the concept. Constantly, in between the lines, we're being hypnotized with the concepts of big business. So you don't buy insurance in this country. What you get is a piece of the rock. You know, you don't go to McDonald's for hamburger. You go there because they do it all for you. You don't go to Burger King for their salad bar. You go there because they make you number one. They're selling you the concept of how they can make you beautiful. They can make you young. They can make you wealthy. They can make you acceptable. They can make you more friendly. They can make your image over. They can make your relationships better. And all of it's really there to sell products. Now, normally I would not even discuss this viewpoint. I would keep it from the airwaves in a form of self-imposed censorship. But it has occurred to me that as much as I understand the evolution of big business in this country and its use of the accessible public airways through its multitudes of dollars and its regular invitation into the American home to brainwash us and our children, as much as I understand that, I must bring it to you tonight because I feel that something else has gone wrong, which represents the highest form of that corruptive influence in our country. I started this out by saying that we're under the imposition of a dictatorship called big business, the big corporation. The corporation that has an international idea of what we all ought to be doing. Not an American idea, an international idea. This is the same corporation who sells mother's milk to Africans that has little nutritional value and has already been thrown out of this country because it failed to meet the basic requirements. So they simply sell it to a third world nation. This is the mentality. These are the same type of mentality that makes cars with the gas tank in the wrong spot. And when somebody hits it, it explodes and it kills and maims people. But instead of changing the design, it's cheaper to pay the lawsuits off. This mentality has reached a very dangerous point. It has reached the upper echelon of our American democracy. When I was at the hearings last week, and I saw the highest commissioner in the land in charge of one of the most powerful quasi-judicial government agencies that regulates the public airways and the public's betterment, when I saw Commissioner Dennis Patrick whitewash some very large corporations who ran absolutely devastating, smearing, lie, fraudulent ads about a whole group of people in a technology, ads that said that dishes were ugly, everything from that it was illegal to use them, that they would fall apart the next day. Ads that were so blatantly on their face characterizing the worst possible elements of negative propaganda. When I saw Commissioner Dennis Patrick say that those ads were simply an attempt by the cable people to educate prospective buyers, it was so offensive to me that the only thing I could compare it with Himmler saying that those yellow stars on those people's clothes were so that we could give them the services that the state owes them, and we could recognize them. It is so offensive to me and so blatantly obvious that the special interest, not of the people, not even of the political leadership in this country, the special interest of some very, very large and powerful corporations in this country own the FCC. Now that's scary to me. See, it occurred to me that the man wasn't making a mistake. I know him to be more intelligent than that. Maybe on the first ad, he misjudged it. Maybe he misread the second one. Maybe he was confused by the third one. But you know what? On the 58th ad, it was no longer a question that the FCC was making a mistake. The FCC acted in vested interest. Just as a dog comes to your side for that pat on the head, the FCC acted in vested interest. It went to the side of these large corporations. What scares me, what makes me use the term corruption, is I do not know what the pat on the head is. I do not know what the FCC is getting as a result. And I'm not sure in what manner and form that it takes place. I do know, just from basic observation, that those individuals in the FCC, those people part of that bureaucracy, have a tendency to move into large, high-paying jobs within the communications industry. Is that the pat on the head? They're each one individually acting based on their individual petty motives that they place above the oath that they take for the office. Is it possible that it's not just an individual seed of corruption residing in all the individuals in that office? Is it possible that there is a unity there? Is it possible that we're dealing with a brick wall, that the mortars has taken place from the corruptive influence of big business? It occurred to me, no, Chuck, don't think that thought. Don't think that thought, because that is so discouraging and that can be so demoralizing that you don't want to think that thought. So I thought about the Justice Department. The Justice Department, who for 18 months has held an ongoing investigation of some obvious antitrust events. Obvious on their face. With any attorney that I have spoken to, and I've spoken to a number, who is a specialist in the antitrust area, will take your case. Any one of them. Except the U.S. government, who's already been paid to take the case. Can't find the case. And I ask myself, is that blindness on the part of those government officials? Is it the same blindness that I saw at the FCC? So I said, Chuck, don't think about that. Don't consider those thoughts. Consider the Federal Trade Commission. So I thought about the Federal Trade Commission. The Federal Trade Commission, who is the inspiration for the capitalistic system in this country, stands at ease with 80% of the small businessmen in the satellite industry dying a slow, painful financial death. Stands at rest, the Federal Trade Commission, standing at rest, while 40% of the manufacturers in this country that have integrated into satellite equipment have to withdraw, go into bankruptcy, or simply disintegrate. It occurred to me, why haven't I heard about this corruption? Why haven't I heard about this problem? Why have I not seen it? Why have I not heard it? Why have I not read it? And the answer is as blinding as a bolt of light from heaven. Because the same method that is being used to make us buy the hamburger and like the company in the first place is the same method that doesn't tell me about the problem. The American Airways, the American Public Forum, the First Amendment, the free flow of information, that conduit into every American home in the country, whether it be by UHF, VHF antenna, whether it be from that cable from ATC and TCI, or whether it just be that commercial on the side of the bus running down the street, has got us all brainwashed. We think what they want to think. We hear what they want to hear. And unfortunately, we are lulled into a false sense of security exactly at the moment we should be outraged and fighting. And I sit here night after night attempting to strategize, inform, and communicate with you and wonder, why is it the masses of satellite dish owners, the 6 million people watching satellite dishes tonight, why is it that 100,000 of them won't send $1 tomorrow to bankrupt the bankroll this fight? Why is it they won't do that? I'll tell you why. They're mesmerized. They're hypnotized. They've been misogynized and manipulated. They're busy right this moment watching a commercial for McDonald's and being told how it's all going to be done for them. It's so easy. All those empty calories and non-vitamin type food is the best place to go to get it. Because the television tells you to. You know, there used to be a song in my church when I was a child. How do I know? The Bible tells me so. It's almost befitting the control of mass media in this country. If I asked my child, she would probably say, how do I know? Because the television told me so. And that's what the future holds in this country. The blind ambition of an unseen corporate entity in its purveying profit movements and plans are going to eat you all alive, and they're going to eat you alive because you can't see it happening, because they'll buy the window that you look through to see the problem. They'll buy every 60-second spot available in your hometown, and you'll all believe that GL70 is something new in your toothpaste. You'll all believe what it says on the box, or what they can hire some star to tell you is true. It occurs to me that I'm probably speaking to the only people in the United States right now who even can discuss this subject. See, it is absolutely impossible to discuss this subject on a licensed broadcast station in any city in the United States. And you know, it offends me. It offends me because I am so proud of this country, and I am so proud of the last 200 years. It offends me that there are some other countries that don't have that problem. But where we have an FCC, a long-standing bureaucracy, a quasi-judicial agency capable of carrying guns, issuing its own subpoenas, effecting its own law, executing its own law, and making judgments, and even hearing its own appeal. Very similar to the IRS. Where that separate power has been consolidated, there is the possibility of corruption, and I think we have it. As a matter of fact, I am absolutely unconvincible at this point. It would take an overwhelming preponderance of direct personal evidence for me not to believe that when Dennis Patrick sat there and said those ads were okay, that he was not corrupt. The answer was corrupt. The answer was offending and corruptive and damaging to a great deal of the American public who saw those ads in hundreds of cities. I want to just tell you one thing. You know, one of those damaging ads that were brought up, the federal government recently passed a law making it illegal. Well, that particular ad, do you know who disseminated that ad in the United States? Do you know who sent it out there to get it printed? Who got the pictures wrong and said this is a good way to knock off these businessmen? This is a good way to poison the mind of anybody out there who's going to look for a satellite dish. We'll just buy every half page available. You know who did that? Turner Broadcasting. Now, I'm going to get sued tomorrow because they don't like the context on which I just placed that statement. See, it would have been okay to tell you about it, but it wouldn't have been okay to also tell you the effect and tell you about it. But you know what? You got to stop these people. You got to do something about this. Don't you understand how corrupt that is? If Turner Broadcasting tomorrow decides that it doesn't like the shape of synagogues, it will simply do what it did with the satellite dish ad. It will send out to its cable affiliates, who represent 80% of the American homes, and say, run this ad in the local newspaper. It's shaped a certain way. We like the way it plays. I find it scary. And that's why I spend my days and my nights working on this avocation. I also find myself in the position of having to ask you to assist me financially. I'm going to do that now before I tell you about what the cable companies have to say about the show you put on last week. Trisha's in the other room, and she's going through the bills, and we're already short. Look, And it angers me to have to do this night after night. But here I am finding myself having to do it. Now, the regulars in the KSAT Army, they've been carrying this thing for a year. And if you ask me, I never even thought they'd carry it for 6 months. But they carried it for a year. I would like some of you who have not carried much of this load to really consider tonight assisting us in carrying this load. There's only one way that you can demonstrate you're willing to do that. And that's to call 408-848-5558. Now, if you didn't write that number down just now, that's because you're here for the free ride. What I want you to know is you will get the free ride because somebody else will pay your way. But you won't like where you end up having not paid your way there. You'll never feel good about that. So my suggestion is you write it down, 408-848-5558, and you give it a shot and pay a little bit of the way. Take the load off some of the other people this month. We would appreciate that very much. And if you call Trish, please do not hold her on the phone. I go over there and she's talking 20, 30 minutes to somebody. And what's happening is there may be someone else who is going to make a pledge tonight, and we could use the money, so please don't hold her on the phone. I have 2 numbers I want you to write down. Do you have your pencil, your paper? Jerry Key got these numbers, and they're absolutely essential numbers, so write them down. You know, I'm just getting ready to give you the numbers. And I wonder to myself, what can I say that will absolutely push you into the action? Now, I know that there are certain KSAT regulars out there and zone commanders